Okay, if you can give me your name, your date of birth, and where you were born.
My name is Hezekiah Pulphus Sr. 7th, 22nd, 45 is my birthday month, year, and day. And I was born in Tupelo, Mississippi, the county, Lees County.
Lees County?
Lees County. I have to use that in order to get through to Tupelo. That's the county within the state, which is Tupelo and
And how many
Mississippi.
what's your parents' name?
My parents' name was Estella Overton before she passed away, and my father's name was Willie Curtis Pulphus before he passed away.
Okay, and they both passed away in Tupelo?
No, they passed away here in Grand Rapids.
In Grand Rapids, okay.
Mhm.
So, how many brothers and sisters?
My father fathered 5 other sons and 3 other daughters.
Okay.
Then there's Sue and me. We have 2 different mothers. It's Mamie Sue. Dillon now is her last name. That's my sister on my mother's side. And the 5 brothers and the 3 sisters I just named, that's on my father's side too.
Okay.
But he had a different wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said that they passed away in Grand Rapids?
Yes.
Initially. So, when did they come to Grand Rapids? What year?
My mother came here in 1955, but she was here before then. We was down south. She was in Chicago, then she came to Grand Rapids. Then when my grandmother took sick, she came down there and got us and brought us to Grand Rapids after the layover in Chicago. She felt that we shouldn't live in a big city after coming out of the south on farmland and stuff, so she brought us to Grand Rapids. And she said the main reason was because she had remarried and her husband was here. So that's the reason why we came here to stay.
So she met her husband in Chicago, but he's from here?
Yeah, he was from here. She lived in Chicago. That's
where did they meet?
They evidently they met in Chicago.
They met
Yeah.
in Chicago.
Mhm.
Okay.
I didn't know a lot about my stepfather's background, because the reason why when we came here, he was in prison, see.
Okay.
So we didn't really know that part. We knew my youth part about 3 years old. Matter of fact, we both was 3 because we Siamese. So when they found out, when my mother knew that he was in prison here, she came and got us because of my grandmother being sick, but she came to Grand Rapids because he was here.
Oh, okay, so because he was in prison, that's why she came.
Right, he was in prison
So
when
they
we
know what he
came.
was in prison for?
A shooting.
A shooting?
It had a shootout and he shot a guy.
Okay, so he was like in a gang or something?
I don't know whether it was a gang or not, but it was
a shootout.
It was a rough, greasy pig joint,
What kind
Well, it was like a bar, but greasy pig restaurant and all that in there,
Okay.
I didn't know too much about it except my mom.
Here in Grand Rapids?
Here in Grand Rapids at the Horseshoe Bar over there on Grandville.
Oh, yeah.
They reventilated that whole place now, but it used to be the Horseshoe Bar. Yeah, hotel, motel, bar, all that combined together.
Okay, on Grandville Avenue?
Grandville Avenue, yeah, that's where it was located.
Okay. I heard about it, but do you know what other street, Granville and what other street?
Granville, the closest, it would be between Welty and the closest to street. Welty and going back, Goodrich.
Oh, Goodrich.
Goodrich in that area, but Welty's a little closer to it because it's right off of
There
Welty.
used to be
That street that
a
comes,
black neighborhood along there.
right,
Okay.
predominantly black,
Okay,
yeah.
predominantly black at the time. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So he knew people there. He had come from Chicago to the bar.
Well, that wasn't a shooting, the shooting was right in Grand Rapids.
The shooting wasn't out of Grand Rapids.
No, the shooting occurred in Grand Rapids, Michigan,
In the Horseshoe Bar.
right in the Horseshoe Bar.
But what I'm saying is, but your mother met him somewhere.
Yeah, evidently she met him in Chicago because that was her home.
Okay, okay.
Her and my aunt, 2 aunts moved from Tupelo
Okay.
to Chicago
And this
at
was
an early age, see,
this was
like
around
16,
in
17
50s?
years old.
In the 50s?
Let me see. It had to be I came in 55, so it was somewhere between 55 and back, 45,
1945.
somewhere in there. I was born in 45. I'm trying to place the closest dates,
So it was
yeah.
in the early 50s.
Yeah, it was early 50s, because
Okay.
I came here in the middle 50s, 40, yeah, 50s.
Okay.
So,
Did you ever go back to Tupelo, Mississippi?
yeah.
So
I went back at the age of 14.
So can you describe that? What was that like?
It was not agriculture, but they was rebuilding the whole city. Some of my kinfolk who I've talked to lately said I wouldn't know it if I came back. But I didn't come from Tupelo, Mississippi. I came from Corinth, Mississippi, about 95 miles from Tupelo.
From Tupelo?
Yeah.
Is that where you grew up at?
That's where I grew up until the age of 10.
Okay.
When I got 10, the day I stepped in Grand Rapids, it was my birthday on a Sunday, and I was 10 years old. I vividly remember it because I was asleep. My mother woke me up. She said, "Guess where you at?" I said, "Where?" She said, "See that sign? It said Grand Rapids on there." She said, "Yo, happy birthday. You're 10 years old today. Now you and your sister the same year old." Because my sister wasn't turned, this was July, which they started on the 24th. My sister was August 18th. We 11 months apart. But what it is, through the paper of school changing, they said I was going under the age of July the 24th as the year. So my grandmother said, well, 23rd. So when I got my birth certificate back to come to school in Grand Rapids, they said it was the 22nd. So we wrote and found out, said, could that 2 be a 3? And they wrote back, no, Hezekiah, don't change your birthday because it's correct. But your sister might have to change hers. So that's the way that went, all about school and getting the proper papers to enroll.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how was the school?
Well, I went to, the first school I went to, where the Franklin Academy, across the bridge there, Vidoc?
Oh, you're talking about you went to school here, you didn't go to school back
Yeah,
then?
I went to all kinds of schools down there. I went to winter and summer, like in Corinth, I went to school. Then when I go on the farm with my uncle, either with my grandmother, that's more vivid, she was sent us to school there in Verona, Mississippi. That's where she lived, on a little farm.
Verona?
And then,
Verona?
Verona, would it be?
Would it be?
So what we would do is go back and forth. My 2 grandmothers had an agreement that they'll keep us since our mothers was up north. So we would go spend the summers with one. Well, we lived, it wasn't severe winters. So we would go stay with our grandmother in the summertime. Then we would come back in the fall and stay with the other, Mamie Lou and Sue Willie Edwards.
So how was that like? How was that like?
It was all right. It was an experience of farm and city life. Even though we lived on the bridge of the city.
Did you work on the farm?
Yeah, I used to pick cotton. We all pick cotton, pick pecans, pick peanuts, pick corn, tomatoes, everything. The farm was on the outskirts of Tupelo.
Whose farm was it?
It was, we called him Mr. Carey. I think his last name might have been Carey, but we called him Mr. Carey. He had so much land you couldn't even see it. But my uncle ran it, Oliver Stubb. He was white.
Okay, but he had all that land.
He had all the cotton.
Did other people live on the land?
No, it was just us. My uncle ran all the crops around there.
Okay.
But it was like a makeshift farm. Everything you got now, they had back in the 40s. Say anywhere from 49, 50. Like milker machines, for example.
Okay.
They brought them in, then people would come from all over to look at them and see how they work. That's why I found out when I was grown, that's what his farm was. Different things. My uncle used to, mules when they had them, give birth to them, all this. Ran everything. Him and his 2 sons, when I helped out. I was real young, but I knew what I was doing because he taught me.
So your family ran the farm for this
You can say family, yes.
this other person.
The whole family.
Now, did he have other persons somewhere else?
No, he had his wife and kids right there on the farm,
They
but
lived there too?
they didn't stay there that much. They was travelers. He was still traveling experience, investing,
So they traveled and you guys were working on it and he paid you?
We would get paid as the crops come in. Like sharecropping, he went, like we had to sell, yeah.
So
In other words, what my
sharecropping?
grandfather, my uncle, there was my uncle with that, what he would do, the store, that was his store too, Mr. Carey's, but he'd go get what he want, and then
At
when
the
pay
store?
time come, he takes that part out, and this might depend on how
He
they
would get
crop.
credit at the store, that's what you're saying?
Right,
Okay, so he was a sharecropper. Is that what they call it?
yeah, that's what they call it, profit share.
So there were other blacks or African Americans that were sharecroppers?
There was all kinfolks. My Aunt Maybell, but they owned their own property. My Uncle LZ, he worked off of helping Mr. Carey too, but he had some.
But your uncles had their
Yeah.
own property.
Yeah, then don't, yeah. But my grandfather oversaw all of it. That was my grandfather, Lacy Stubbs. Him and my grandmother.
Did he oversee the other uncles' property?
No, he didn't go there. He worked his job, engineer, driving,
Okay.
train, you know, stuff like that.
So some people have owned their own property and some people were sharecroppers.
But it was so, after he ran out of property, you'll be into the city, see, he owned everything, that's what I'm saying.
This
Mr. Carey, I never will forget him. Yeah, because he had a son, and by me being young as his son, he would always say, let your nephew come down there and play with my son.
Okay.
So I would always go to the house and play until dark, back on the farm. Then when school started again, I was there, so I was always in school.
So people got along with him pretty good. He was pretty good. I mean, Mr. Carey was pretty good.
Oh yeah, he was real good.
Okay, so he didn't cheat people or anything?
No, nope.
Okay.
He was fair.
It was fair. Okay.
He was a millionaire.
Okay.
He didn't have no reason to cheat nobody, you know.
Okay.
He was real fair.
He wasn't prejudiced?
No, he wasn't. That's the thing I can say. And where I was, the white people was not prejudiced, but what they demanded was to say yes sir, no sir, as a respect to the adults.
What do you mean
But then they were,
what do you mean they did?
you know, like you ask a question and you say yes, you said, and then you
So what
answer
if
it.
you didn't answer?
If you just said they would jail you, I'm gonna tell your father on you, something like that.
Oh, I see.
Even though I'm speaking in the terms of father,
Okay.
they would say, I'm gonna tell your father on you, you disrespect me. You know you're supposed to say yes. Mostly had that trouble out of men though. And there wasn't that many. We only went in town to get little items, you know, and we were back on the farm, see.
Right.
My grandfather be done trail ahead and know just what stores he wanted us to go in, cause he was the breadwinner in Tupelo, which was Corinth, where we moved, at a makeshift housing by the military government. And it was a government-funded endeavor. They built a set of houses where it was hooked on together. And the whole thing was to see could people live in that type of environment, that close together and get along, you know. But that community was all black.
Was it like a project?
It was like projects, they call it. They call them now projects, because when I got up here, later on they started building them up here. One flat, no upstairs, no basement. So that's kind of the way that was.
But did everybody have a little piece of land?
No, not everybody.
Everybody had
had work land. My aunties, it was only two aunties stayed in Tupelo. The other three went to Chicago. You know, so we went to Chicago too. Our mother would come and get us. She always kept her promise, but she always comes New Year's, birthdays, something like that. Because she was a hard worker, all of them. That's why they went there to work and help grandma back in the South, which was Tupelo, Mississippi, where we were born. But the little county we stayed in was called Corinth. I didn't know that till I got grown, was up here, Lee County. My sister knew it like that. As in Tupelo, Mississippi, Lee County. See, because we had to write there to get my birth certificate, see. So I got my birth certificate now. Any legal situations that come up, I can handle it for as my personal identity, you know. Because a lot of people got mixed up with my name, you know. That was the most difficult part when I came up here. Because we down south had a southern drawl. They were saying the same name, but only the way they said it. And people up here didn't understand it. So they started looking in books. And they would each
So
call
how do
me.
they say it?
They called me Hezekiah, they called me, yeah, and they called me Jesus. Well, that's what the Mexicans call me, Jesus. The closest Joe Fernandez get to in Spanish your name is Jesus.
Yeah.
They call you Jesus.
Actually,
I said, okay,
I
well,
can see
I got used to all these names because I'll go to somebody. I said, no, my name is Hezekiah.
That's a holy name. They call you Jesus.
Yeah, well, that's what he was saying,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
what it
didn't.
is.
Yeah, but you know, back in the young days, that's what they called me. Most black
But
people
up here,
don't.
how do they call it? So,
Well, they called me Hezekiah by the principal looking in the dictionary,
Right.
but it wasn't hard because he looked in the Bible. He said, "That's your name right there, King Hezekiah, King of Kings.
Okay.
That's your name, King of Judah."
King of Judah.
And yeah, and my sister, I go to church with him.
So how do you say your name?
I just say Hezzy.
Hezzy.
Yeah, I always say Hezzy, but unless it's book work, and
You said Hezzy, they said Jesus.
Yeah, well, that's what Joe told me. He knew Spanish, but if you hear him talk, he speaks fluent English.
Okay.
But with me, maybe he wasn't kidding, but that was one of my best friends back then. They had a dog named Tom. You know.
So what, did you play or anything? And you just
I
worked?
did all sports. Even when I was down south, I played.
Down south,
I was always playing sports.
What kind
And
of
it would
sports?
be
What kind of
football, baseball,
Okay. Were the kids in the area?
hopscotch,
At school?
everything, you know. Huh?
Hopscotch, but they don't have no cement. You don't have
No, that was right there in the projects. They had cement. I
Oh,
told
they
you
had
this was
cement in the
a
project.
new testing site and everything was new.
Okay.
Yeah, even cement. We didn't have cement ground where we lived at first. But you know, yeah, but you know, by me living with 4 girls and no boys,
Okay.
I played a lot of games with the girls, and then I run off by myself
Oh, so
and
the
play by
hopscotch
myself.
and all that, 'cause
Yeah,
the
when they
girls
get to
play.
when they get to the girlish game, I said, see y'all later. I go climb me a tree,
Yeah.
you know, make me an Indian teepee, you know, all
They
these
made
things.
it clear, this is a girls' game.
Yeah, I knew which games was too feminine for me
Is that-
until it
they
come to
made it clear?
kissing and
Did they make
hugging.
it, like, clear? You didn't care?
Yeah,
It's
no,
not-
no, I let them know because when they friend girls come over, then it's gonna be, Hezzy, I like you, you know, one of them kind of things. So I always stayed mentally in touch with women.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't play around them, but I lived around them, and I learned. They taught me a lot, you know. And I look back over the years, I said, if it wasn't for women, I wouldn't be here. Because they really taught me a lot, you know. And like I said, women mature.
Right.
They talk about mature now and these steps. But women back then, a girl was maturing down south much faster. And that was because of sex. Down south, we could have sex at a lot earlier age than up here where they got 18, you know, anything over is cool, anything under you could be tried, you know,
But
and all that kind of
down
stuff.
south, they didn't care?
No, well, you know, they just, by the girls mingling with the boys, the girls that matured a little more thought more sexually, you know. So enticement could be quite a thing, couldn't it? But anyway, that's kind of the way I grew up, you know.
Okay.
And
So did you go to church and all there? or
every Sunday,
What church did you go to?
well, we went to I'm trying to think of it. It always has something to do with God.
Okay.
Yeah, but like the Church of God in Christ,
Oh,
something like
Church of
that.
God in Christ.
The reason I'm saying this, we went to more than one church.
Oh.
And in the churches, my uncles, if you look up at the pulpit, you'll see one of them preaching.
Oh, they
It was
preaching.
all a family affair. We were the only ones in the South in Corinth that was black. Everybody else was white. That's what I'm saying.
So your
And the black
so
family,
this was your family mainly?
this is my family of uncles,
And they were...
aunts.
Yeah.
See, and what it is,
So it was a big family?
my 4 uncles all of them went to 4 branches of the military. That's why we didn't get to see each other, you know, that much at that time, because they was all drafted to go in the military, you know, Marines, Army,
So
Navy,
they were drafted?
and Air
They
Force.
weren't volunteers?
Not that I know of.
They were all drafted?
Back then, I think they was drafted into the Army, World War II.
Oh, it was World War II?
Yeah.
Okay, it was World War II. Okay, so anything else that was very important that while you were growing up there in the South?
We had so much to do. We never could be lonely because we always had fairs or what you call carnivals, traveling carnivals that we could go to. We had a movie theater not too far away. We did more plays than we actually watched movies. In other words, we would get up on stage and act out certain parts, put on certain costumes to do certain parts. For all the cool kids would get this together. So we always was entertained by each other, you know.
Okay. So you came up here, you went to Chicago first, or you came?
Went to Chicago first, just to know what it looked like.
Briefly?
Know what it looked like. My mother, the way she
A few
explained.
months, a few months?
No, I don't think it was that long.
Okay.
She already knew we would come into Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids, okay.
But
'Cause your
what
mother-
changed her mind, she said, I would have stayed in Chicago with y'all, because I know Chicago like the back of my hand. She said, but you got a sister. And she looked at my sister, you got a brother, but that ain't what I'm talking about. She said, if it's your brother, then I would have said, yeah, I stayed. She said, but you a girl, and I know your brother hurt anybody that messed with you, so I don't want him to get in trouble, so we'll go to Grand Rapids. That's kind of how she explained it.
She didn't want your brother to get in trouble.
Yeah, my brother, it was only me and my sister. My brothers was born in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
Yeah, they still stay right here. They didn't know I was their brother, see, because it wasn't inoculated.
But she didn't want you to get in trouble.
See, my father left before I was even born, see, so nobody even know me. You know, when I came to Grand Rapids and I found out they was my brother, they said, oh, no, you ain't. You know, because they went under the name of Edwards. But they didn't know that my
But
father...
your father was their father, too.
Right.
Okay.
He birthed 2 sets of kids by 2 different women, just like I did.
Okay. Okay. And so was that, so you did it too, so was that common? Other people did it too?
Did what?
Birthing from different women?
I had 2 different women when my first set of kids was birthed. I got 4 children that's 4 months apart and 6 months apart. They might be, you know, born in the same year, in other words.
Okay.
But they by the same 2 women.
Okay.
I was going with both of them.
At the
In
same
other
time.
words, yeah, and they both
Does
got
that happen
pregnant.
a lot? In the
I don't know what anybody else do. I didn't find a lot of people that had 2 sets of, yes, I did. Here I found a lot of dudes who had kids by two different women.
Here in the center?
Yeah, regularly only 2, but some had more.
So you found a lot?
You said in the center?
3 or 4 people, or 5?
It might be more than that.
Okay.
The young teenagers back then was having babies like mad. The dudes, you know, and then they'll quit school and stop working because old Bill Rowe down there wanted that alimony for them, see? Alimony or either support money. Mine, the judge didn't have to tell me. I said, those are my kids, so I take care of them. But then they said, well, we got to make this legal, so you pay this much for the 2, and you pay this much for the 4. And it all came up to $12. I said, my kids are going to get more than that. And I paid them more. I took care of my kids. I said, if he going to tell me $12 between 6 kids, he must be crazy. You know, how can they live on that? The Pampers back then cost more than that. So what I would do was work extra time, but I would go to their mother's house and give them money for the kids. And I did that up until I got on Social Security. Then I put all my kids on Social Security. Well, they all got a check every month. And I put the check in the mother's names to make sure they cashed the check and then give it to the kids. And they promised me they would, and they did. Because my youngest child is 44. My oldest other children is 50, and then Keena's birthday is 23rd of this month. She'll be 44, you know, so my kid's up in age. My son is 46.
So you were like, what, 8 or 9 when you came?
I was 10.
10, that's right.
The day I hit Grand Rapids, I was 10 years old.
So you came here at 10, so what do you remember that day, that week?
Of wandering around to see what it looked like. See,
Where'd you live at?
I lived on Bemis.
On Bemis.
But we lived with a
Bemis
couple.
What, on the southeast
Bemis
side?
right off of Fuller.
Off of Fuller.
You know what Baxter Center is?
By the
Well,
Baxter
see,
Center, okay.
Bemis is on one side, Baxter on the other one. That's the school we would have went to, but we didn't stay. We moved before the fall enrollment in school was. We moved on Franklin right here, Franklin Division right out there.
Franklin Division.
We moved over there because we was living with a couple that was married and they had 3 kids.
Okay, so you were 10 and you were born, you said what year? So
I was born in 1945.
45, so this was 1955.
Yeah. Okay.
So 1955, what did the neighborhood look like?
Typical slums, really. That's what it
Was it
was.
slum?
Everything was raggedy. And we had coal smoking furnaces. I used to get down there and toss the coal in there. All of this. When it get freezing cold, we'll go and snuggle up with mother. So, you know, things like that, you know. The Italian stayed across the tracks. Mexican was just beginning to come in.
They were across the track?
Across the tracks. Across the tracks is on the other side. Then they didn't have the expressways through there.
Okay, so there was just
across the
tracks.
tracks. But they had 2 cross the tracks. One cross the tracks was the Italians was in the middle of doing all the gardening. On the other side over there was Franklin School in that area, then that was all blacks. We didn't get in a big
But where was the
conversation.
Mexicans in that?
They was, the Mexicans that I knew was real young, see, because we all grew up together.
Right.
Everybody in the neighborhood was actually growing up together. Like I said, I was 10, so.
So the Mexicans lived in the black area?
They lived in the West from, yeah,
Okay,
right,
okay.
right.
And then
Went
on
to
the
school.
other side was the Italians?
Yeah, in other words, the schools, the Mexicans and the blacks they was a minority. We had few white people, not a whole lot, because white people was moving out, that's why. They was moving out. They was moving out into the suburbs.
Why were they moving out?
Well, a lot of them explaining that's a type of theft in their stores,
Oh, their stores?
Thievery,
stolen?
but the real reason I know, because they wrote their diagram 10 years previously and told us that all of this gonna be renovated. They're gonna tear all those houses down and build new houses, like the Franklin Complex was. That's what Delaware Manor was called. So the Italians and the whites who own the stores start moving out. That's why they own a lot out there in the malls and all that. They was moving out because they know they were gonna tear everything down. They said 10 years is the end, and if everybody made some type of commitment to move, they gonna tear the houses down anyway. So that's why they told them that early, so they can get a place, And that's when a lot of black people start moving out. What all the white people used to live, black people start moving in, and that way it was specks of blacks. Black here, black there, black there. Now looking back from where I came, everything was predominantly Negro from there. You didn't see too many Mexicans on this side of the division. On that side of the division is southwest.
Right.
On this side of the division is southeast.
Okay.
But those that had money, that's the way we said. Because the black people who had money, they lived on this side, southeast side, had better houses. We lived in the ghetto. And we grew up in the ghetto. We would go out.
There were some blacks with money.
Black with money, yeah.
And
There's some who own apartment houses. That's how you find out. Back then, that's how people made their money. Except the white people that owned the stores owned houses too.
With the apartment houses?
Well, 2, 3 apartment houses, yeah. Mm-hmm. Back then, you didn't have too many whole houses then. Mm-hmm. Not in the ghetto, We didn't have whole houses,
So
but
people had apartments.
yeah, and then we constantly moved for better house. That's why my mother moved. Every time she made better money, she'd get us to a better house to live in. Okay. Because back then, everything was infected by rodents. Everything you can think of, roaches, bed bugs, My mother was constantly buying mattresses, even though they was from Roma sales, we call them. That's where you buy hand-me-down. Right. That's what we grew up on, hand-me-down. Right. Whatever she could get, but it wasn't new. But she somehow made her way, and then we started getting things new. That's why I can see the change,
Why was it run down? I mean, it wasn't run down before when the white people were living there.
I don't know why, because it was run down before we even moved here. Okay. So I wouldn't know.
So when you moved, it was run down?
I didn't know nothing about the ghetto.
You said the white people were moving to the suburbs.
They was moving to the suburbs because they was planning to build their stores out there. That's why so many people back in those days, the malls would be so crowded you couldn't hardly walk. But that's the reason they built them. And I knew a lot of them, see, like Jack Walweed, he was Italian. It's just so many. They was all around here. And when I used to go out to church, hey, Hezzy, what's up, Jack? But he went on to liquor that time. But what I'm saying, they moved their stores too. It wasn't just whites, the Italians moved too. Because for one thing, their stores were already small. They had a chance to make them bigger, and they got a chance to get in one product where they made money. When Jack got out there in Myers, he was making all kind of money. He said, I make more money down than I would have made in a month there. But it was all because they was tearing down the product. They didn't just move. They didn't want to move either.
You said it wasn't just white. The Italians moved too?
Yeah, they was moving out, yeah.
So the Italians were poor too?
Right. But one thing about the Italians, they was families, because they was like brothers, Go over to my brother's store. But that's the way it was. But we all grew up together. They kids, But the neighborhood I grew up in down south, it was only the kids of the family that we could play with each other, The fathers was always off working. The mothers still working, doing clothes for white people and stuff like this. You know, they always kept a job too to run a household with 5. My grandmother didn't have to do it. She did it because she loved us. You know, she could.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because she could have had my mother and them stay right in Corinth, but they didn't. She said, go off and find your job and just help grandma. We didn't want for nothing. Every Christmas they would book catalogs we would look in, and they would mail it to us, you know, stuff like that, you know.
So let me ask you a political question.
A political question?
Well, I don't know.
Okay, I understand. It was just natural talk.
Just a question, just something that's in the back of my mind. Do you think that some of the white people moved out because Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, and blacks were moving in?
Well, in our neighborhood, everybody had gangs, see. But the white people that I remember, they didn't have a gang in our neighborhood. The ones who lived there, but they right there with us too. But the only gang we had a confrontation with was up on the Michigan Street called the Nigger Stompers. All the rest of our gangs, like,
what was their name?
they call themselves the Nigger Stompers. They grew up to fight against black people, but they call us niggers. You see what I'm saying? If we went up,
That was the name?
that's what they named. That's what everybody called them.
And this was from the west side?
That's from the northeast side.
Northeast side.
Back up in there where they were kind of wealthy too, see.
Okay.
They didn't like us to come downtown even, but we would go anyway. But we would always go with our gang, fight our way down
Well,
there.
the blacks had gangs too then?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They went by age limit, you know, like
So did the black gangs fight the
black gangs,
other group, the white group?
we would end up fighting each other to see who the baddest. And the baddest be the leader.
Well, you
But
saw it as a gang.
see, I was the leader of my gang,
You
but we
said we, oh, you
didn't
was
we
in the
didn't
gang.
fight each other. We just said who dare do it. I stepped out there and did it, you know. You know, it was more or less just having fun, walking all the way to John Ball Park to look at the animals, get away on the weekends.
So are you saying that these people are moving out, the white people are moving out? 'cause
They
there's
was
gangs?
they was
There's
moving
black
out.
gangs?
They was moving out, but they already had everything stationized when they moved out. In other words, the ones that was moving out, they was moving out there with their kin people. Then they combined their money evidently, but they still, some of them, children I might run into. Yeah, I might be walking somewhere and somebody said, "Ain't you Hezzy? I remember you, Grapefruit Sutherland's used to stay right next door to us, but their father worked at Carbonator, so he moved way out to be close to his job." One day I was walking just a cussing, and this car drove up with this white lady, and she said, "You know better than that. I'm gonna tell your mom on you. You know who I am?" I said, she said, "I know who you are. You Hezzy. This is Grapefruit Sutherland. You ain't never cussed like that. Your mama didn't bring you up like that." I was so surprised I stopped cussing until I drew a garden. And somebody tore our garden down, and I started cussing again. But just show you, they didn't forget about us. The elderly didn't forget about us. They and I can go places now. I ain't even talking about Hezekiah. I know you in the Bible. I'll be so surprised to know this. But like I said, you never know who's watching you. I believe God is watching me. That's why I would never give up on God. Anything, I don't say less, but anything that people that don't believe in God, I stay away from them because I know something is very wrong. For the simple reason, the way this society is built, and you grew up, if you don't believe in God, then you believe in the devil. There ain't no two ways about it.
Okay,
You know.
So what church were you going to then?
Well, I went to Pilgrim Rest.
Pilgrim West?
Pilgrim Rest, but before then I went to New Hope. Pilgrim Rest is right up the street.
Okay.
Yeah. But then I went to New Hope for Charles the Tracks over there. In 1956, that's the church I joined.
Okay.
That's the one my mother brought us up in. We went to church every Sunday.
Across the track? So
Across the
by
track.
Goodrich?
Yeah.
By Goodrich?
By Goodrich there.
Okay.
But it's off of Wealthy there. It's not far from it.
You went
But
to
then, yeah. But what they did, they built their churches over on the east side. But not New Hope. New Hope is right over there on Common Street. Common Street, that's the
Common
church I
Street.
belong to.
Common Street, okay.
But we prayed for peace the other day. I went to Pilgrim Rest because my sister been going there for like 45, 50 years.
Okay.
So,
Because all of them grew up here, so your sisters and everybody have children in this area.
right, my children,
They grew up here
yeah.
too?
The 8 children that my father fathered up here was born here.
And they got raised?
And They go to church.
On the southeast side, they live.
They stay in walking distance from where I live at.
So they're from this neighborhood near downtown.
They know this neighborhood real good.
Okay.
See, my father brought them up, but he always had them working. My father had a chain of trucks that you go pick up rubbish in.
And they all have children, and they all have children.
No, they all don't have children. Mark and Gary don't have, they didn't father any
They
children.
didn't father, but most.
Yeah, but Willie,
Okay.
Robert, and John,
Okay.
they fathered the three
And
brothers there.
Where are those children living? Where are those children living?
I don't know where their children live. I done been by their houses. Their children is grown now and got their own houses, and I haven't been by there.
But they
Only
live
time I
in
get to
Grand
see them,
Rapids? Do they live in-
they live in Grand Rapids. Don't know I'm living in no suburbs or that. But the thing is, the only time I was getting to see them was at funerals, and that's what I did.
So they live in the southeast side too then, some of them?
They all live on the southeast side.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you were growing up, you said, you mentioned the gangs and that, how was school?
School was wonderful,
What
you
school
know.
did you go to?
I went to Campau. I went to Sheldon first here, but I went to Franklin before that. That's why I was telling you previously. First school I went to when we moved over on the southwest side was Franklin School. But then we moved, and so we started going to Sheldon School. Sheldon School, school board told us they was building Campau, and when they build it, they have the name of the list who all gonna be going to Campau, the new school. We stayed on the southwest side, so we automatically went there, and plus the district end is there at Hall Street. Everybody on that Hall Street or beyond went to Jefferson School. Everybody beyond Buckley or Pleasant there, they went to Central, but that's high schools I'm talking about there. Elementary school only know about those 3, 4 with Jefferson, because we would go, in Vandenberg, don't forget that, we always go to challenge each other, bombardment, sports. That's why I told you, that's all I ever did, yeah.
And that was football?
Yeah, I ran track myself,
Track, you
yeah,
ran
yeah.
track.
But that's,
Did you play football?
no, I didn't make it.
How about-
I got kicked out of school. I couldn't go to a school in the state of Michigan.
Why?
It was an incident that happened at a football game, and I think the reason they did that because it was Catholic against parochial. You know, we played Catholic Central in our sports. I think Catholic Central was the only Catholic church students. But I think that incident happened at Campau wasn't because of that. It was a fight, and we chased them. It was still 2-on-2, but we chased them, and one of them had an umbrella and tried to stick me, so I snatched the umbrella for him and hit him, and they said I hit him, but they didn't think about what he tried to do to me or us. But they had a judge
He
come.
tried to stab you, but you hit him.
Yeah.
And you got in trouble.
Yeah, they had the judge from downtown come to South High School, and they tried me and a dude named Charles Long. And when they got through with the evidence, they said, you too, you know, and I think we were a little older, we're on the fringe of 15 or 16, but his verdict was you too can't go to a school in the state of Michigan. Any school outside of the state of Michigan I could go to if my mother relocated. And when I found out that, she couldn't relocate because of the job and taking care of us. So what I did was took correspondence. I sent, somebody get me to it, I don't remember who. They said, Hezekiah, you ain't got to give up. You can take correspondence, do your own, and then send it back to them, and they'll grade you on it, and send it back to you another new lesson. So that's what I did,
So
you know.
for a fight, you got suspended from the whole.
I got suspended from the whole school board in the state of Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah, never to go to school again. But I went to tutoring up here. That's why I say I got more education than anytime I put a resume in, they're gonna say, what education you got? I'm gonna say half of the 8th grade, called according to the vocational system in Grand Rapids or the state itself. State has to control everything when it comes to education too, because they're the one locking the biggest money. But the point is, they told me I couldn't go to a school state. I could have moved back down south, you know, and I didn't want to move down south because I wanted to help my mother, you know. So we stayed right here and got through it. But my sister now, she's entirely different. She went on through, after her 7 kids graduated from college, that is, then she went back to Grand Valley, and she got a master's degree now. She's still in the school board, even though she's 71. But the point is what I'm getting to. She didn't give up, but saw her kids do. But the kids she taught was slow learning children, you know. But I ain't gonna stem too much on her. I'm saying it because I love her and I place no one above her, see. And that's why I let people know. My mother told me, and it's real in my head, she said, no matter what, don't give up on God and don't give up on your sister. Stick together, and we stick together right now.
Your mother worked, she was a homemaker?
She worked at coat and apron doing sheets, pillowcases, white shirts, especially white shirts for the richer people, you know, that wore white shirts every day. But that's what she...
In the laundry or in their homes?
She would work in the laundry. Right there on Michigan.
Coat and apron?
Coat and apron.
Coat and apron.
Right on Bunwich in Michigan, what it was. They tore it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what about your father? What kind of...
My father worked for the board of education right here.
Okay.
And in all the school systems, he was...
What did he do?
He ran the custodian.
The custodian.
You know, he did the hire and fire for the custodian.
Okay.
But his main job was lighting the flutes. Like if the flutes in the school go out, no heat, see. So they might call him 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, he had to get up and go and light the flute,
Okay.
you know. And that was his basic job, you know.
That's related to me.
Yeah, but he was a rover wherever he'd go to see how the custodian was doing at all of his schools. He was all parochial schools. Yeah, that's what he was, yeah.
Okay.
And he even went into retirement, and they asked him to come out of retirement. So he said he would come, if they needed him, he would come help out, you know. And he did, you know.
Okay, what about your work?
My work, I worked so many jobs, man. When I first...
Give me some of them.
Jimco pools, I was working building swimming pools.
Okay.
That was one of my first jobs. Then I worked for Gypsum.
Gypsum.
You know, I need Gypsum now they
Gypsum,
call them, but it's Grand Rapids Gypsum when I was working there.
And what is that like? What was that like?
I was a pit man, you know, but I would do other jobs too. I worked my way up to committee man.
What's a pit man?
Pit man is when you bring the stucco down when you cook it out of the kilns.
I don't know.
What? They got big kilns and you put your stucco in there.
Like a pot?
Big cooking kilns.
Kills.
Where they light their flute. You know, and it cooks the plaster to a certain degree.
Oh, it's
and then you drop it down and you run it out. They had what they call a blower there with up at the pipes.
So you
blow it down to
so
the...
Let me see, you cook the plaster, it becomes a liquid?
Yeah, that's what, it runs just like water, you know. It be bubbling,
okay.
But you have to get it out of there before it start bubbling, before it's set up on you. If it's set up on you, it won't run, and you're in trouble then, because the next dump, they got to dump right on time. And when it's dumped, then all that's going to spill over, you know. I done saw it happen. It happened to me a few times. But anyway, I started off as pit man, but I end up working
and after that happens, what happens?
You got to scrape it out. Everybody got to help.
How does it become plasterboard?
Oh, they send it down to the boards, down to. I'm remembering right now. You know, they run it through the pipes. It blows down just like dust if you see it. Okay. But then when it accumulates again, then it's substance, a solid substance. I had to blow it down to the silos.
Okay.
See, and when they get down to the silos, they bring it through where you got the paper there, the paper hanger. I used to do that.
But you didn't go into the mine, you stayed upstairs.
No, I walked down the mine one day and I almost fell out. And they said, wait a minute. They said, you just get, no, it's the temperature drop. In other words, it's a substantially bigger temperature than up on land, see. You go down underneath, it's real cold. And if you don't take your time and they clash together, it'll knock you out. But they warned me, see, they said, you gotta be careful, you're all right. I just had a shirt on. But see, all the men work down there have to wear coveralls and stuff because it's cold down there, you know. But anyway, they got lighting with the pack where you gotta energize it. You know, they got the energizing machines, you know, all of that. But like I said,
how many levels now?
Well, they work so many levels and work so far, it's hard to tell.
So it's deep like a mile?
Yeah, they work one level, then they got your dynamite blasters that come in and blast, you know, blast after the worker's gone, blast another if you got another start,
so they
work it out.
They're always blasting away?
Yeah, they blast them, man, always
What are they
work
blasting
over.
for? What are they
They
doing?
blast them for the stucco.
For the stuff?
Stucco is like a rock.
Right.
It's like a rock, but when they process it and get it all through, then it's like you make plasterboard. Then in the bagging department, they make the kind that you actually.
So it's those rocks that they're looking for.
Right.
That's stucco.
And they keep
And
saying they're
that's
gonna
what
run
makes
out. That
plastic.
don't you know how old that mine is? That mine over 100 years old. They still working it. Well, we're gonna run out. They say we ain't gonna run out of no stuff. But see, they taught me to be
Who
the
was the main
utility.
workers? Did they have any Spanish workers there?
I'm thinking back. Garcia, he was a foreman.
So
He was a foreman in the stucco department.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was Mexican.
in the mine.
And he was the plasterboard department. They all had they supervisors.
Okay.
And then we had like the stucco, the baggers.
Okay.
Each one had their own
So how many?
boss.
How about blacks, African Americans were there? A lot
You
of-
had a lot of blacks work
lot of
there.
blacks were there.
Yeah, and
white,
a lot of black. I mean, a lot of whites. But the thing is about them, they was from like Tennessee. They wasn't from up north, see.
Okay.
But somehow we got
So they were
along.
from Tennessee. They were from the mountains.
They was Appalachian,
Yeah.
down south in other words.
Down south, and
But
were used to work in the Appalachian mountain, Mike.
Right, mines down there, coal mines, and they got gypsum mines down there.
So you didn't have there was no rich people.
I didn't feel no
prejudice.
prejudice, but I spoke up for the blacks.
But you spoke.
Yeah, well, something went down. See, I was a steward
you were
there,
ready.
see. But I was a steward in the stucco department.
You're a gangbanger.
Yeah, but they wanted me to be steward. They came to me from all of the department. They said, Hezekiah, why don't you be steward? I said, all right, you don't have to be no certain age or nothing. So I was steward, and then they liked me for sticking up against the bosses.
Okay.
That's what the brothers would tell me, or all of them when it come down to it, They said, we like the way you be sticking up for us, See, one thing, our boss wasn't from he was from this southern state too, see. So how some might get a little fear in them? Of losing their job over some bull jive. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But anyway, they kind of liked me for speaking
there
up.
was no prejudice, but
In
you
other words,
stuck
something
up
go
for-
down, they'll come and get me, see.
Yeah.
So I kind of learned I was a leader because I was a leader of all the plants because I was doing them. In other words, somebody go on a vacation, I take their job.
Okay.
Somebody gets sick, I take their job
Okay.
until they come back. If they all there, all I do is drive the truck around and pick up stucco that done waste. In other words, carry it to the dump.
Yeah.
That's all I had to do,
Outside.
Yeah.
Outside.
So I work. I know that's the job I'm talking about because that's the one I worked
So
the
about how
longest.
many people? 100 people worked there, or 15?
Wait a minute, I'm counting. I don't think it might have been about. At that time, it probably was about 80 something.
80 something.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
See, reason they shut down. See, they shut down at one time. Remember that period? They shut down because they was building dust collectors. See, everybody was complaining in that area about, like I told you, it turned to dust. And it always sails out and across that road, and people will get accidents, because you can't see through it. So they was gonna close them down, or either they come back on the rebound with silo, which is your dust collectors. Now you go out there, you don't see no dust at all flying across there. I ain't been out there in a number of years myself. Matter of fact, I'm thinking about driving out there. But the point is, they got those dust collectors, and that stopped all the dust and all the complaints. And that's why they opened the day too.
So what were some of the other jobs that you worked?
I worked at Holiday Inn a couple.
Yeah.
I worked at Belford Drum and Barrel. I worked at Bowman's Manufacturer, Tyler Manufacturers.
So a lot of
I worked
factories,
at,
a lot of factories?
Yeah, there was factories.
All
But
downtown?
I worked for I worked for the housing corporation through Orange, Ames, and Kimmel. Know them? Most of the buildings they got downtown, Orange, Ames, and Kimmel built.
Okay.
But I worked for them. But I was working up in Dreamville doing low-income houses. They were gonna see how it worked up there. So I worked up there a winter. Then I got laid off.
What did you do there?
I did foundations.
A foundation?
Yeah, set up the walls and the foundation of the house.
Okay, building lawyer?
Yeah, once we build a foundation, we go on to the next site. And back there with Jimco, I would work with the front end digger. He would survey the land. I hold it, moved up, he looked through the transit set and see what level we're gonna be at, cause like a slope, might have to have it up like this, or landfill in them. I did that kind of work. Me and Dick did most of the digging, to dig down, then we trowel it out. It was a new process on that too. What it was to see could they build swimming pools with vinyl, still of the cement. The theory was to trowel it out by putting sand in there, trowel it out, then put a vinyl covering over it, and then the water pressure from it, we would always have to open up a fire hydrant and fill it up. And the theory was the water pressure supposed to stay up again and it would stay hard, in other words. It would stay hard just like cement, but it was experimental, you know, so that's Jacob Pool, like I said. Then I worked at Butternut Bakery. That was the 15th. In other words, 15th plant. So it was called Interstate Brand 15, Subsidy of Butternut. Because we were in butternut bread for one thing. But everything else was food. It's a big chain, not real big. They got plants all over the United States. But all we dealt with was food. They wanted me to know that. They said, we don't sell nothing but food. Bread, cakes, we got canned goods. I sat there and watched the film. But I was the last one to watch it. He said, Heather, how'd I miss you? And Cook said, Heather, I didn't miss you. I wanted you here on purpose because, you know, it was questions asked afterwards, you know. He said, I wanted you to know the whole lowdown. And I found out the reason why he did that, as I went into my scruples, was because they was relocating workers. If they wanted to go to another plant, they could. You know, they would get them homes or see that they went home, things like that, because they know Butternut Hill was changing over. In other words, I think Butternut Hill wanted to take over all the bakeries, but at that time, Miles that came in and they wanted so much bread, but they could sell it cheaper, so that's why that got famous. We had that. Okay, but then Chicago used to bring bread over here. It was a thing, but it was a big corporation. I enjoyed working there. Okay, I'm through.
Okay, so we're gonna kind of finalize the interview.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to so what was the most important thing, you know, just for final thoughts, what the most important thing of living here in Grand Rapids and being in the center and all that? For you, what's the most important, most important thing for you?
To be a family man. When I came out of prison, I said, I'm not going back there. And I didn't go back either, after 40-something years. Robbery. But it was my kids. I wanted to be a father. I even told my wife that.
How did you get that robbery from being to work in the Gypsum line?
Well, that was quite an experience.
How did you get into that? Did you do a lot of armed robberies?
Oh, I only did one since we wasn't on that, but we brought it up. That's why I went to prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went to prison?
No, I didn't do. I went from juvenile home. I went from juvenile home to the county jail. Went to Milwaukee, arrested and.
So that had to do with the gang life.
No, it was still gang members that were with me. 2 went with me.
Right.
They were my best friends. They said, Hezzy, you going, we going too. I said, no, y'all ain't did nothing. Y'all stay here, I'll make my way. But they went anyway because Alfred's brother lived in Milwaukee. He said, I can show you just where he lived at. So we took the Milwaukee clip over there. I'm the one running from the police, not them. I wasn't there. I said, I ain't getting my friends in no trouble, you know. But they wanted to go anyway, and that was the reason he gave, that his brother stayed over there, and he did, you know. But these are little things that happened to me, but it kept me awoke to the days living, you know. And I brought up 6 children with 2 ladies, one a wife, one a girlfriend.
So you raised them?
Whenever they called me, I would come,
okay.
You know. And they didn't have to call me that much on something bad either, and that's why I love them today. You know, and I place no one above them either, you know, because they are the mother of my children, but they was all so nice to me. Neither one of them, we went out battling or arguing, but certain one, I had to stay away because he didn't like me. But my kids were there, but she would bring my kids to me, you know, because I didn't want a conflict between a husband and a wife, you know. But we made it up to here. I don't worry about them now, just shine that light.
So you did your time in jail?
I did my time in jail, you know. They didn't give me no chance, see. On the first shot at juvenile, he said, oh, you going to BVS, that's boys' vacation school.
Right.
And then he told me at the last minute, I waited after Christmas, they kept me all Christmas. He said, you ain't going to no BVS, you ain't did that wrong. I'm giving you another chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I never went to juvenile home again either, But there, all my friends was right there, so I grew up off of incarceration.
All your friends, people from the neighborhood were there?
Yeah.
A lot of them?
Yeah, a lot of them. Everybody I went to school with, and some, juvenile home, you go
not
up
everybody
until,
went to school.
no, and some of them I didn't know even lived on a different side of town. But what it is, in juvenile, you only can go to 17, see. If you're 16, you go to juvenile home. After that, it's jail time.
Okay, but the armed robbery was when you were an adult.
No, what they did was held me as an adult. 16 to 17,
When you were
September the
16,
29th, I know.
When it happened.
I was 16 when it happened, but they charged me as an adult. No, I didn't. They held me in the county jail. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Until my birthday came up and they sent me to court. I was 17 there, so they sent me to prison.
I see.
But it was kind of
But
funny.
they didn't try you until you were 17.
They didn't try me till I was 17 years
I
old.
got you.
And that's why they were telling me, they said, oh no, you're
That's why you
17
went to
now.
adult prison.
I went to adult prison, but I
When
went
it
to
happened when you were
I went to a
16?
youth camp.
You-
I went to an adult prison to be classified, and they classified me as being a youth, and they had a youth camp, so they said, we're not sending you to prison, a wall prison, because we got a youth camp, and it's a trial to see can youth make it there without guns. See, without the guys having guns, see.
Right.
They didn't have to patrol us with
And you
guns.
made it there?
Yeah, I made it. I wasn't thinking about running. And plus, they had a set up where every 30 days, I think it was, I'm not sure on that, I could go out in a 50-mile radius. And everybody who maintained their coolness, when that month come around and it said, your turn to go, then your people could come and get you no matter how far it was, but you couldn't go no further than 50-yard radius from that camp. That's what I'm saying. Like Camp Pontiac is here, I could go 50 miles anyway, and it's not against the rules, in other words. So that's what I used to do. My mother and them used to carry me to Detroit, see. Yeah, time?
No final thoughts.
Oh, final thought. Well, that was my final thought, was to be a father. That's what I wanted. That's why I told my wife when we got married, I said, I'm marrying you because I want to be a father. So I want you to understand that. We wasn't married. My wife, she had my daughter, we wasn't married. We got married afterwards. See what I'm saying? So
today you're in the center. Why do you come to the center?
This center because it's enjoyable, it's entertaining, it opened up my mind. It give me a chance to talk to people. My kids is in college, working, so that leaves me there by myself. And then it was suggested through a good friend of mine, Jim Brown, Hezekiah, come down here and see me. So I came, and then I came one day and he wasn't here. They said, oh, he's going to a resting home. But I kept coming, I knew familiar faces, so I kept coming. I've been coming down here for about 5, going on 6 years. Mm-hmm. But that's it. It's not that I don't have anything else to do. I got that car, but I don't want to ride the streets. I don't know nobody. All my friends is either dead or they living way out. Not that I can't get to them way out. It's inconvenient. I say they married now, But when I do see them, they know me, like Odell, I go out and see him, but the rest of them, I don't even know. Albert, I don't have many friends left because they kicking. I'm 70 years old, and I'm seeing my friend kick, or either I go and see him sick. I said, I said, I ain't gonna see y'all like this because I didn't see my mother like this, But, so that's what I would do. Like if I might see them at the store, we always rap, People that I don't.
Any lessons for your kids? What about life?
No, I can't tell them nothing about life because they done got their college education, and they got good jobs, they got good husbands, the ones that still married. Only one just doesn't got a divorce. But what I'm saying, all I do, and they do. In other words, they proud of me, so that make me want to do something to be proud of myself. Because it was at a time, some of the charges that was coming down was so dirty, it's a shame. Out of these police, the things they used to do to me. And they know I wasn't guilty, in other words, I used to walk the streets every morning for 25 years. But I walk in certain areas, they'll stop me, That's why I always pat my pocket, and make sure I got my ID. When they see my ID, oh, go on, you know. But now, some black police, especially Joanne, I know her. When she said, Heather, they just don't know you. I know you just going for your walk. She said, anytime you need me, call me. And one day I heard somebody knock on the door. She said, Heather, did you call me? I said, no, I'm doing it. I said, no, I didn't. She said, well, it must be your sister. You know, but anyway, it kind of surprised me for her to come to the door. She said, I thought you called me. I don't even know police number other than 991. Okay, well, this is some of my life story. This is what an autobiography for, but I wanted, like I told you the last time, an autobiography is you usually give them when you're dying or dead. See, something gives. Well, you don't foresee in the future that I'm going anywhere, do you?
I appreciate.
All right, I'm trying to run it to you the way I live. You know, reason why? I don't have nobody to talk to about my youth. And my middle age, I don't have nobody to talk to. So I learned to talk to myself.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.